Hey everybody, how are you doing? I thought what we would do today is make a headdress. It's fairly cheap way to just spend some time and take your thoughts off things, because you just focus on your pattern and all that. Like I said, it's pretty cheap. It's all mostly plastic beads that you can get off Amazon for like dirt cheap. The most expensive thing you need is a 4-in-1 tool. I imagine you can use regular pliers. I wouldn't recommend it though. But I love the 4-in-1 tools. You can get one at Walmart for like $3. And you got your wire cutter, wire straightener, crimper, and little, I call it a little twisty thing, because it's, they're rounded at the end, and you'll know why I call it a twisty thing in a minute. So I did most of my safety pins so far. For the headdress, you need 11 safety pins, 13 spaghetti beads, 10, it's kind of hard to show you. Well, they're little flat rondelles, 13 8mm faceted beads that you can get from the bead tin. Actually, all these you can get at the bead tin. 13 6mm beads, and 13, I believe they're number 11s, glass beads. And if you're like me, you need your trusty magnifying glass so I can look on here and say, yeah, they're number 11s. And then 18mm starflower beads. You want 11 2-inch number 3 safety pins, and some 20 gauge wire. Whoop, I closed my thing. I have my bead box here. This is my headdress box. Then you also need some thread. I like to use thick nylon thread. And some scissors. Aren't those adorable? And a couple of dangly things. I think with this one I'm making it purple. So I think I'm going to do a couple of black leaves. I think that would look kind of cool. 2 of those. Okay, now how you start is you take your safety pins and one of the number 11 beads, then a 6mm bead, a spaghetti bead, and your 8mm bead. And then you just close them up. It should be nice and tight. And then I always crimp them to keep them from popping open later down the road. And then after you got all your safety pins together, you also need a needle. I like to use the Big Eye needles. I got these off Amazon a long time ago, and as you can see, they are Big Eye needles. So next you want to take some of your wire. Is my other one less? Yeah, this one's less crimpy. And you just want to get one short piece and one longer piece. I always go extra. You probably don't need that much, but I always try to do a little extra for just because it's easier for me. This one's kind of crimpy, so I don't think I'll use that one. I'll get me a fresh piece that's not so crimpy. I learned to do this a long time ago from Ricky's cousin Marcy. And I'll sit here and I'll watch YouTube and make headdresses. I was making a bunch of them for a while. Now what you want to do is you want to take the end of your wire and put it at the end of your 4-in-1, and you want to twist it. So you got a couple of good rings there. Just like that. And then crimp it and bend it so it's at a 45-degree angle, because you're going to be using the little hole there for your thread later on. This is going to be the bottom of the headdress. So you want to take your safety pins and thread the bottom part through the shorter wire. But first, I almost forgot the most important part. You want to take your 6mm, although at the bottom you probably could use a 4mm, but I'm just going to go ahead and do a 6mm. I'm actually going to do clear for that, so we're not all, yeah, just grab a bunch of them there. I know my lids say 8mm, but I'm changing containers and beads all the time. So you want to take your, those are stuck together. You want to take your 6mm and put it down in the wire. You want to make sure that the bead is bigger than the hole here, because you don't want the pins coming off the wire later after you're done. And then you just thread through the bottom of the safety pin. See, there's the head, the top. And then after you put your pin on, you take your little rondelle, some people call them spacers, and put that down, and then you just repeat it. And like I said, you want to make sure your safety pins are all facing the same way. And yeah, remember, we used to go over and visit Marcy all the time. That was his cousin's name. And we went over there, I think it was for a birthday or something. And she had all this stuff laid out on her kitchen table. And I go, well, what you doing? What's all this? And she said, oh, I'm making headdresses. And I said, oh, how do you do that? And so she sat there and made one in front of me. It wasn't exactly like this, but it was pretty close. With my memory the way it is, I just came home, got the stuff, and did it the way I remembered to do it. And it seemed to come out okay. And then here, a while back, Ricky, he had his homies. His homies were like the waitresses at the restaurant he went to every day for breakfast. Actually, there were 2 different restaurants. He would go back and forth. And then when he went and did his walks around the mall, he would stop at there's information desk girls working there. He'd stop and talk with them, and He called them all his homies. And then he got the bright idea one day to have me make a bunch of these so he could give them to his homies. And he didn't want me to just up and make them. He insisted on buying them off me because he wanted me to have the sense of accomplishment, making my own money kind of deal. So actually, I couldn't argue with him. He wasn't the type that you could argue with when it came to something like that, because he would sneak it at you. But so I made a whole bunch for him. I still have them, a bunch of them. He didn't get them all given away. Okay, after you get all your safety pins on there, you want to make sure they're all laid out in the same direction. That's actually turning out kind of pretty. And then you squeeze them together. And then I clip them right at my finger line. My wire clippers are getting dull. And then just like with the other end, you want to grab them. And then twist them. Oh, that one came out kind of funky. Let's see if I can do that better. The reason I like to use 20 gauge wire is it's heavy enough to withstand what you're doing and hold up, but at the same time it's thin enough to where if you have to, you can bend it and rebend it with your fingers. Crimp it, because you don't want the thread to come out once you put the thread on. And there you got the bottom part. And now it's time for the top. And I don't know if it will be probably just long enough. We'll find out. Now you do the same on the top. And you can use different beads, but one thing you want to make sure is you don't have a wire poking you. You do the same, 40-degree angle, the little loop, but you're not going to be putting anything on the top one, so you don't have to worry about the hole there. You just want to make sure that the bead is big enough to where it won't go through the hole at the top or at the bottom of the safety pin. And then you just put your 6mm bead on there, if you can find it. I always have trouble getting them threaded. And then instead of rondelles on the top, you use your starflake beads. Just like that. Pin, bead. Oop. Pin, bead. All the way across. So, I've been thinking about Ricky a lot. Trying to get things in my new life situated. Do you like my backdrop? Huh? Look familiar? I got that from a company called collage.com off Facebook. It was supposed to be, it's a free sample actually, but they charged me $20 for shipping, so, but I'm pretty happy with it. See, it's a whole blanket here. Let me show you the blanket. You got him. Whoop, let me get my knee out of the way. See, I got a big rimpy, and then I got 3 little rimpies. But they can do whatever you want. Had it for a while actually. I just now decided to put it up. I thought it would make a good backdrop. Since this is Rimpy's channel after all. Now when you're doing this, if they start to get like, see right here, my wire got bent. So it's making it a little more difficult to thread, but it's no biggie. As long as you don't miss. To be honest, I like to miss. I'll forget. I'll skip pins for some reason. You just want to keep tugging it tight down to our last one, and then we got our final bead. And just like on the bottom, you want to pull it tight. And then crimp it or cut it and twist it. Just like that. And then on the bottom, you want to get your thread. I like a lot of thread because that way I can stretch it all out and not worry about it coming out the one end while I'm working on the other end. As you'll see, I don't know how I survived before the invention of these big eye needles. I really don't. So you put it through the little hole that you had made in the bottom. I'm having a little trouble with this one. I might have to break out my trusty friend over here. Oh, I think I got it. There, I got it. Okay. Now, what I mean is I need a lot of thread over here. And when you do the bottom, you do the opposite of what you did on the top. You go 8mm. Where'd that come from? Spaghetti bead. Get on there. Get on there. Yep. Missed it entirely. This is a nice thing to do when you really feel. And then your glass bead. Or your Yeah, your number 11 glass bead. I don't know if they have number 11 plastic beads. And then you go through your dangly. You can pick whichever dangly you want. And then right back up through the ones that you just threaded. And the 6mm is going to give me, oh no it isn't. Surprise, surprise. But you see how I'm messing around down here? Pulling on the thread and stuff, and yet it's still okay up here. That's why I like to use a lot of thread. Now you're not going to go back through the hole. What you are going to do is, what I'm going to do, or what you will do if you decide to make one, is you take your thread and your leaf and just pull it just like that. Just like that. And then you tie it off. I tend to use 3 triple knot, sometimes a quadruple knot, and if you really want, you can put a dab of glue on it, keep the thread from going whatever. So, and there you go. And there you go. And then you can, what I like to do is I take a little bit of this. I like the stretchy stuff for some reason. I don't know where the end is. I might have to make an end. Okay, I can do that. I have the technology. It's not a big deal. And then you go 1, 2, 3, whoops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to find the middle one. And then you go down the middle and then up on the other side of the center pin. That's what I mean by middle. I'm talking about the center safety pin. And then tie it off. Again, I like to do 3 or 4 knots. And if you want, you can use a little glue. I never had a need for that. And then you just pull it up to the top of the middle pin, and there you go. You're ready to be, well, almost ready to be hung on your rear view mirror, which is where most people put them. And that'll be it for today. I hope you enjoyed this little different kind of video. I have other things that I do with safety pins and beads. If you're interested, I can show you those. And like I said, here's a finished one. Give you an idea on what they look like when they're finished. I did this one yesterday. But I like that purple and white. That is really pretty. We'll talk to you later.